Hello, Canada. I'm here in Washington, D.C.
We got an update from Javani, and yes, it is so nice to see that someone is getting things done. Mark Carney did not show up to work again. He did not want to go to the House of Commons and get completely obliterated from Pierre Poilievre. Oh yeah, Pierre was mopping the floor in the House of Commons. I can't wait to show you. And they removed the EV mandate, but it comes with a catch. Let's get into this report.
Hello, Canada. I'm here in Washington, D.C., where I've been having some very productive, promising, and positive conversations with the White House, with the State Department, with senators representing border states that we do a lot of business with in Canada. And I got to tell you, I'm feeling hopeful and optimistic that we can get something really good done for Canadian workers and businesses. Might take some time, but I really believe that the doors are open here. Positive conversations are possible. I have made some jokes about the United States becoming Canada's 11th province. Americans don't seem that interested. They seem happy with their country, but I am really hoping that I can bring my insights and what I've learned here back to Ottawa, share them with Prime Minister Mark Carney and Minister Dominic LeBlanc, and this can be the beginning of a truly nonpartisan approach to working with the United States. This is not a partisan issue. It's not about liberals or conservatives. This is about Canadian workers and Canadian businesses and how we can make sure our economy is growing and our economy is thriving. I will be heading home tomorrow, back to Bowmanville, Oshawa North. But before then, I will be meeting with some business leaders that I'm really looking forward to hearing from, as they are job creators that employ thousands of Canadians. And I can't wait to get back home this weekend to see my wonderful niece and nephew. God bless you. God bless Canada.
I don't know about you, but this is extremely refreshing. Since the trade dispute with the United States started, we hear absolutely nothing from the Liberals except for our relationship with the United States is officially over. A rupture. We are no longer friends. We don't see them going down to the United States and providing us daily updates on how things are going. Instead, we find out that they had a discussion from Scott Bessent. Remember that? Or Donald Trump comes out and says, yeah, I spoke to Carney. Then Mark Carney has to play, oh yeah, I kind of spoke to him. But they keep all of their negotiations top secret. So we don't find out until the US leaks that they had a conversation. And I believe the reason for that is because if they don't have Orange Man bad, the Liberal support will be collapsing because they can't run on their track record. It's pitiful. The only way that they could get their support is that Orange Man bad, drumming up all that fear. Thank you, Javani, for making us feel hope again. We're going to start things off with Mark Carney and his thoughts on Javani going down to Washington, D.C. Then we're going to take a look at Power and Politics, CTV. They got a few things to say about Javani's visit.
Extensive contacts with the U.S. administration, constant contacts with the U.S. administration. Minister LeBlanc gave a briefing to Mr. Javani, who I don't believe is the trade critic for the opposition, certainly not the Minister of International Trade.
Did you get all that? Let's just repeat what Mark Carney just said. Extensive contact with the U.S. administration. Constant contact with the U.S. administration. Mr. LeBlanc gave a briefing to Javani, just showing how he has control over the situation. All good, elbows up voters. I got this. I'm always talking to Donald Trump. It doesn't matter if a conservative goes down. This is all damage control, and he's blowing it off like it's nothing. But this is huge for Canada. What does Pierre have to say about this visit?
Mr. Carney had promised that he would get us a deal by last July. My message to him today is Conservatives are here to work with the Prime Minister and with the government to knock down these unjust tariffs and fight for our workers, fight for their jobs, and fight for our economic independence.
The Conservatives are playing this beautifully. Now let's take a look at power and politics. Oh man, this is gonna be good.
Conservative MP Jamil Javani's trip to Washington this week, where he says he's meeting with stakeholders about the Canada-U.S. relationship. The Ontario MP is a longtime close friend of U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance, having met him while they were both students at Yale Law School. As you heard there, Prime Minister Carney says Canada-U.S. Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc did brief the Conservative MP before his departure. Javani says he believes he can help the Liberals on the trade front, insisting it's not a partisan issue.
USMA and trade with the United States is so important to the Canadian economy and to our future as an independent, self-reliant nation that Conservatives and Liberals don't need to fight over this at all. In fact, we need to work together. The leader of the Conservative Party, Pierre Poilievre, has said as much. He has offered help from Conservatives to the Liberal government on this issue, and I'm acting on that.
This is beautifully done. The reason I say this is they're turning it around on the Liberals, playing their game back on them, saying that if you don't allow us to do this because you have 0 wins with Donald Trump, you are against Canada. And I have more information for you that these panelists are not considering. We know it's going to be real good. Look, Sharon Carr, the person that said Pierre Poilievre runs on fear, and Mark Carney won because he's so hopeful, just so hopeful. We're going to hear from her, and this is going to be good.
And she's here to talk about all of that. Sharon Carr is a CTV News political analyst. She's former Deputy Chief of Staff to former Finance Minister Bill Morneau. Next to her, that's Jamie Ellerton. He's the principal at Kanaptis and worked for Minister Jason Kenney during the Harper government. Sebastian Scampsky was former Director of Media Relations to Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. And here with me in studio, Laura D'Angelo is with Enterprise Canada and previously worked in Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's office. Hi, everybody.
Okay, we have 2 Liberals and we have 2 Conservatives, but they're not really Conservatives. It's 4 Liberals, but super liberal and just on the line.
Laura, everybody sounds there like, hey, no biggie, this is okay. You know what
Oh, just wait till you hear from Laura.
I mean? What do you make of Mr. Javani kind of heading there on what appears to be, yes, briefed by Minister LeBlanc, doesn't appear to be like sent by the Conservative Party. So what do you think's up here?
Doesn't appear he was sent by anyone but himself. This is not without risk. We know that Donald Trump looks for cracks in governments and countries and political movements in other parts of the world and then uses them to exploits them to get what he wants. And so an MP going down on his own with relationships that we all know about to try to talk on Canada's behalf without knowing what's happening behind the scenes really is not without risk here and is something that Canadians should actually be concerned by. There does have to be a coordinated effort around this.
One thing that these panelists, especially Laura here, that she doesn't understand is that there is a game being played right now. Remember I told you that the only way for the Conservatives to win the next election is if Pierre Poilievre forms a relationship with Donald Trump and says, hey, Donald Trump, you've had a year of this globalist failure and he's done absolutely nothing for you. Javani just needs to show up and say, hey, J.D. Vance, go tell Donald Trump I got a guy back in Ottawa. He's going to get your Golden Dome. We're going to get rid of China. They're out of Canada. And we are going to form the strongest economic union that North America has ever seen and the world. The thing is, Mark Carney could not stop this Conservative MP from going down to Washington, D.C. because that would make him look terrible. This is well played by the Conservatives. By the way, there are a lot of Liberals melting down online because Javani went down to the Washington, D.C. Check out this comment. Javani is a traitor. He should be investigated by the RCMP and CSIS Canada and charges laid if required. They know it's danger zone for them because if they get Donald Trump to back Pierre Poilievre, see you later, Mark Carney. And while the world is signing mineral deals, Canada says, stop. We're not going to do anything with the United States because we want the full package. We're not going to look at industry by industry. They are intentionally stalling these negotiations. We all know they want a majority government.
And why there is no agreement coming out of this between Canada and the United States when key allies like Europe, Japan, and Mexico seem to have reached some sort of an understanding.
Well, to begin, David, Canada's only signing deals that are favorable to our economic and our national security interests. We're not looking to sign sector by sector deals, and we are looking forward to the comprehensive CUSMA review.
So the whole world's doing deals with the United States. Canada's like, if you lose your job, it's because we're trying to get the full package. When tens of thousands of Canadians lose their job, the Liberals are going to say, we're doing what's best for Canada. And if you're in the crosshairs, too bad. Who's ready for Sharon Kerr? This is going to be hilarious.
I mean, I guess overall, you hope that he would meet with his friend, his old friend, J.D. Vance, the vice president of the United States, and that there would be something positive that emerges from that meeting. I know there's some, commentary out there that meeting did take place. We don't, like we said off the top, we reached out to his team. Hopefully we get a message back, kind of confirming or establishing what meetings were taken. Sharon, your thoughts on the trip in general and the potential out of it?
I really want to say that this was done in some sort of good faith to try to come to some agreement between our two countries. But this is clearly nothing but a PR stunt. This is purely for the cameras. It's purely for the exposure. And it's purely a tactic that Jamil Javani is using. He does not speak for the government. He does not represent the government. He is not part of any negotiating team. And we know that he has this relationship. It's no secret that he has this relationship, but he has not proven himself to be someone who is willing to put aside politics to do what is best for the country. So politics is always going to come first. He is a member of the opposition party, so whatever helps him is purely for a PR stunt here. Now, I think that there is merit in having relationships with counterparts in the government, but not when it's at the risk of politicizing it so that it backfires in some way, shape, or form. So this was not sanctioned by the government. This is purely a PR stunt.
I absolutely love it. The Liberals have zero idea what exactly is going on. Things are working out just perfectly right now. 2026 is off to an amazing start for us conservatives.
Yeah, it's interesting because I am old enough to remember, Sebastian, the first round of NAFTA negotiations where there were, premiers and members of parliament, all sorts of different people from different backgrounds who were making an effort to present the Team Canada case. But at the time, it also was coordinated. So I sort of see both sides of this coin. I'm not sure why the government has decided not to lean on the relationship that he has or try and exploit it and I don't mean that in a negative way, but try to leverage it to some use. At the same time, it is interesting that one would go there when this.
We know exactly why, because Mark Carney wants to. We know exactly why, because the Liberals, they don't want a trade deal with the United States. They still need their majority government so that they could pass Bill C-2 and Bill C-8 and Bill C-9 and Bill C-15, because if they get a majority government, Canada is finished. There's some people out there that actually want a majority government for the Liberals, because that will 100% cause Alberta to vote for separation and Quebec. Canada will cease to exist if the Liberals win a majority government. Luckily, there is a plan in play, and it's happening right before our eyes.
Stakes are so high without the backing of so-called Team Canada.
Want to say or reject the premise really Sharon had laid out. I think Mr. Javani explained in a 5-minute long video about why it is that he is going down to the States and, how it is that he wants to kind of inflict some positive change in that relationship. We all know that politics are a relationship sport. They are based on who you know, how well you know them. And so it is a pretty good card to have in your deck, to have been the roommate of the now vice president, who is, in our understanding, involved intimately in a lot of President Trump's decision making. I'll also point out, of course, that Mr. Javani represents a community that has been badly affected by the shortcomings of the Prime Minister in being able to secure a deal. We just saw GM, the Oshawa plant there, announce hundreds of workers that they plan to lay off. I think this is a kind of his response is one to be patriotic, is one to advocate for those workers. Yes, he is not a member of the governing party, but that does not mean that he is not obviously concerned about his constituents and the impact of the lack of action on this very important file by the federal government and how that's affecting his community.
Absolutely beautiful. They could blame it on failing his constituents. And I have a relationship, so I'm just going to go talk to Donald Trump. There's zero suspicion that the real plan is to get the conservatives, including Pierre Poilievre, a relationship with J.D. Vance and, of course, Donald Trump.
What do you make? Split the difference for us, Laura. Where do you fall?
This is a PR stunt to me. I hear Seb, Jamil Javani's riding has been hit brutally hard by job loss, largely as a result of the trade war, which falls squarely on Donald Trump's shoulders. Jamil Javani also hasn't been out talking about that. That's not something we hear from him all that often. We don't hear him advocating for those workers or pushing really hard on the companies that did those layoffs. What we hear,
because he's not there. Well, he's there for the workers, but that's not the real reason. I absolutely love that nobody knows what's happening in the liberal sphere, because if the media got a whiff of what's actually going on, they would not be talking like this. Also, they're also on damage control, because we all know that the media in Canada is bought and paid for.
Here is that he's going down to the U.S. on an unsanctioned trip without knowing enough about what's happening to advocate for Canada, without proper briefing and proper support to ensure that we can actually move that forward.
Jamie, last word to you. I would say two things are true sort of at the same time. There isn't the support, like there isn't the sort of Team Canada backing. At the same time, I would say it's fair to say that the Conservatives have gone very hard on the government for the types of arrangements that they made with those companies that ended up turning around and going to the United States. So I take your point that like there are other approaches you could take, but I would say it's not totally fair to say that the Conservatives haven't talked about those job losses.
Yeah, I think I would encourage my Liberal panels here today to be more magnanimous like the Prime Minister and see what he does, see what he says, and see what he comes back with. I think if you're going to change and genuinely offer to help, you need to really sustain that over weeks and months. And if this is like the opening of a negotiation, great. We all know President Trump makes his own decisions. Yes, he's got people in his ear. But frankly, I think overstating J.D. Vance's power in trade negotiations is also somewhat delusional. And so I think the Prime Minister's response here to be magnanimous, let him go down, see what it opens, and see what avenues it creates could possibly quite be a net benefit for Canada without overstating the significance of how instrumental this could potentially be either.
They have zero idea, and it's so wonderful to watch. He has zero power. He has a lot more power than any of these people actually give him credit for. He's talking to the Vice President of the United States and talking to him about a plan. These people have no idea. That's it for today's report. What do you think? Is J.D. Vance cooking up a plan to save Canada as we know it? I want to hear your thoughts in the comment sections. I'm going to read the comments. I believe personally the Conservatives are actually playing perfectly right now, incognito mode. This is what we're looking for. I'll see you on the next report.